This is called Breath of Joy by Dana Falls, who's a yoga and meditation teacher. Make grace abound and ecstasy too. In the fray of everyday life, may you embody your true nature. May you breathe in love and breathe out love until love is your only reality, even in the midst of challenge. May you not deny difficulties or the shadow side of life, but find divine presence inside even the hardest times. May miracles come your way often, and especially today. And Cynthia, I invite you to the miracle of Zoom so you can share your life with us. Cynthia, you got muted. Okay, now you should be good. Go ahead and talk. Well, you're still muted. Do you see something where it says host has asked you to unmute?
There. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I'll start over again. I was born on September 5th, 1936 in Washington, D.C. I was an only child, christened Presbyterian. We didn't attend church regularly, though. We lived in the Maryland suburbs. Dad was a purchasing agent for Washington Gas Light Company, and my mother occasionally worked as a secretary at the State Department near the White House. On Sunday, December 7th, 1941, Dad was listening to the Redskins football game on the radio in the living room. I was playing with my dolls on the rug near him. The announcer interrupted his broadcast and said, "Japanese planes have attacked Pearl Harbor." Dad was in the Army Reserves, so he was quickly assigned to go to California to train new pilots in navigational equipment. Mom and I went with him on the 5-day car trip across the country to Los Angeles. Over the next 5 years, he was transferred from California to Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, Pennsylvania, and New York State. We always went with him. That caused me to go to quite a few different elementary schools. I had my tonsils out in the Army hospital at Lowry Field in Denver when I was 7 years old. We were in New York City on VJ Day in 1945. It was quite an experience with the jubilant crowds. In 1946, Dad left the Army to go back to his job in Washington, and life was normal again. In September 1952, I met John Looney in high school geometry class in Silver Spring, Maryland, a large DC suburb. He was a year ahead of me and much better at math. Pretty soon, we were going steady. The next few years went by fast. John went to the University of Michigan and I went to Michigan State, 60 miles apart. He majored in mechanical engineering and I in English. We were married in January 1958 while John continued to work on his engineering degree, and I was a secretary at National Educational Television in Ann Arbor. Our first two kids, Jill and Stephen, were born in 1959 and 1961. By that time, John worked for Bendix Corporation in Ann Arbor. This was a time of rapid growth in engineering jobs, and John was offered a better job at McDonnell Douglas Aircraft in St. Louis, so we moved there. Our third child, Jennifer, was born in St. Louis. In 1968, John was offered a job at Xerox in Rochester. He really enjoyed his work there and earned quite a few patents for his designs. When we settled in Rochester, we wanted to find a church that both of us liked. Friends had told us we were Unitarians, but just didn't know it. We heard about First Unitarian Church and thought we should try it. On a nice spring Sunday in May, we went there for the 11 o'clock service. As we went up the sidewalk, we saw a couple we knew in high school in Maryland, Steve and Barbara Blomgren. They got us involved in activities at church before they moved to California a few months later. The next year, Bob West left to be president of the UUA in Boston, and Dick Gilbert became our minister. We worked on many different things, like the annual budget drive. John taught Sunday school. We both were on the board at different times, and I was president for 1 year. And I finished my degree at the University of Rochester. I worked for Rochester Downtown Development Corporation for 5 years, and I was financial development director for Red Cross for 10 years. I sometimes got to go across country to help chapters that had disaster problems and helping them raise some money. After we both retired, we enjoyed trips that Joyce Gilbert led in Europe and one in New Zealand. When we were in Paris with Joyce, she took us to see the art at the Pompidou Center, and we had a surprise there. In an upstairs gallery, a video was playing, and the image on the screen was showing several of us walking into our church. It happened that the gallery had an exhibit on Louis Kahn, who was the architect of our building. And I think it took us all by surprise. It was really, for me anyway, it's been a lingering memory of the surprise. John loved participating in the Bi-Friars after he retired from Xerox. And they do, as you know, I hope, they do many repairs on the church. And then they work on Friday morning, and then they go to lunch as a group. He really enjoyed that very much. Unfortunately, he developed pancreatic cancer 3 years ago and passed away last year. Reverend Sherry did a great job on his memorial service, along with Glenn Cook and others. Our church friends have been wonderful in supporting us during this tough time. I have been so fortunate. Thanks to all of you. I sold my house in December and moved to a senior apartment at the Highlands in Pittsford. It's a very friendly place, and it's near where my kids live, my Rochester kid anyway. And it's been, I think I like it here. I think I'll stay. Our other two kids and their families live in Denver, and they haven't been able to come because of the COVID situation, but I'm really hoping that that will be solved in a few months and they will be able to come and visit. So thank you. That's all I have to say.